Exploring how the trail wrist moves in backswing can be one of the most influential segments on how all other segments move and behave in the golf swing. So this is one of many examples. We look at multiple definitions and multiple examples of how that trail wrist moves. So in this particular case, let's look at, for example, when that trail wrist moves into excessive amounts of extension, then the wrist is kind of moving this way in backswing. That can then hugely disrupt and hugely influence then, for example, how we move to that kind of trail elbow, into the shoulder, the spine, the pelvis, and even then, for example, how the trail wrist moves in backswing, and actually then influence then some of those ground reaction force profiles through the floor, which we then know how we move through backswing, and then very much that influences and controls how we then move in downswing. So again, this is an example of many, many examples we can explore. When we go into excessive amounts of trail wrist extension as we start backswing, that can then create a very almost excessive response in trail elbow flexion, the elbow actually kind of bending. So when we go into those, we look at those intrinsic biomechanics, almost those anatomical movements. Excessive extension can create excessive elbow flexion. When the elbow flexes, that can then push and elevate that kind of humeral head at the top of the trail shoulder. When that humeral head elevates, the spine can again get pushed into excessive amounts of kind of lateral flexion or side bend, which then can display and migrate into how the pelvis moves, which then starts to produce certain profiles through the floor. So really understanding and appreciating how that trail wrist moves at start of backswing can hugely influence, for example, areas such as how the elbow moves then influences how that trail shoulder, the humeral head moves, how the trail shoulder moves can then control what the spine and rib cage does, how the spine and rib cage moves can influence what we then start to explore, for example, and certainly then observe then through kind of pelvis and lower limbs. So really appreciate and understanding how we move through that trail wrist at start of backswing can have a significant influence on how all other segments then move and behave through swing.